Hi, my name is Hyuntae Choi.
Hi, my name is Marco Jimenez, and we are the hosts of Full Cadence podcast.
Full Cadence believes in the power of the arts to sustain the human spirit. We share stories of young artists in the performing, visual, and literary arts who are making a difference in their communities, and we hope to inspire our listeners to examine how they can use their own talents and unique skill sets to do good.
We also aim to forge a network of artists dedicated to their craft and to advancing issues of social justice. Coupled with special episodes exploring the vast world of classical music, Full Cadence ultimately seeks to excite hope and joy in our audience. If you would like to be featured on this podcast or would like to nominate someone, please feel free to contact us at fullcadencepodcast@gmail.com.
Our special guest for this episode is Adán Martinez. Samuel Adán Martinez is a 20-year-old local activist, strings teacher, musician, and a St. Petersburg native to the Tampa Bay area. He currently is a full-time music studies major, minoring in entrepreneurship at the University of South Florida in Tampa, and he plays with the Tampa Bay Symphony. Adán began playing the viola at the age of 11 through the fine arts program at his middle school. He didn't have access to weekly lessons or musical resources and had many different on and off lessons with various strings teachers in the area. By his junior year in high school, Adán would play his viola on the street corners in downtown St. Petersburg to earn money for his viola payments, private viola lessons, and overall living expenses. Busking every Friday and Saturday night opened up many different doors for Adán as he met retired musicians with musical connections to members of the Florida Orchestra who eventually would teach him. He went on to receive many local accolades his senior year, from winning first place in the Mayor's Youth Showcase to headlining an event with John Legend. Adán believes that, quote, music was a great outlet for all of the negative aspects of his childhood reality and opened his eyes as to how he could make a positive impact on other people's lives through music. Along with being on the show, Adán also wants to raise awareness of the organization Gathering of Women. Adán, can you talk a bit more about the organization, ways people can donate and support the organization?
Yes, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be on your show, honestly. The Gathering of Women gives kids, inner city kids, an opportunity to learn about music, to try out different instruments. They even just told me they just started an acting class that filled all the way up. It's basically any local musicians with experience that are really talented. They just come in there or they're invited and they teach their craft, such as trumpet. It could be a woodwind instrument. It could be me teaching strings. Most of these classes, pretty much all of the classes, are for kids in elementary school and middle school. So these are beginner classes. They just reached out to me from my old church at St. Joseph's, and they said, why don't you come in as a strings teacher? We'd love to have you. We have a lot of kids that want to learn. We have some violins that we can donate. I think they were from Amazon or something like that, and the bridges were all backwards and the bows didn't have actual hair, something weird like that. So I used whatever resources I had from my own money to reaching out to the Tampa Violin Shop. Shout out to them. I reached out to them and they even donated supplies to the program, such as rosin, bows, strings, lots of things. And, the kids have really soared and taken off with it. They love learning about strings and music, and it's really inspiring, honestly.
I mean, could you talk a little bit more about how you personally got started playing the viola and got started in music?
Officially, I really started when I was in 6th grade. I was at Johns Hopkins Middle School. They had kind of a similar program to the strings program I teach now, where the orchestra director at the time, who's no longer at the school, he would just let kids that didn't even go to the school come in, and after hours, like right after school ended, and he'd say, pick up an instrument. You know, we have violins, we have cellos, we have even stand-up bass, but we don't have that many people to play viola. So I thought, oh, what the heck? I don't even know what a viola is. And the rest is history. My first real teacher was a cellist / pianist named Miss Christine Hartley. She would give me lessons at her house for half the price, because I could barely even afford that. Throughout middle and high school here and there. And then she told me, when I had gotten to a level, I can't teach you anymore. I'm not a violist. I don't know viola composition like that. I don't really understand it. So you should try and find somebody. And I think I had tried to start lessons with other people, but it was just so expensive. I couldn't afford $50 a week. I couldn't afford $60 a week. And while I do understand that musicians need to be paid for their craft, every artist of any craft needs to be paid for their time and compensated, I just couldn't afford it. My parents couldn't afford it. Not only did I get donors and supporters through the Arts Conservatory for Teens program my junior year, but I also found them playing outside of the Florida Orchestra concerts. You know, they would be retired musicians. There would be retired conductors, teachers, and they would say, hey, I know somebody. Hey, I know a guy. Hey, and I built my own little network. It was fun for me. You know, I was earning money for food and groceries. I was earning money for lessons, and I was earning money for my viola. That's a whole other story, but my viola at the time was $3,000. And I mean, that's the price of a car for my family, really, if you can believe it. Like that was a big chunk of money. And I had purchased that through the violin shop in Tampa, and I was doing everything I could to make my monthly $100 payments, $130 payments. So fast forward a few months, I get a couple of articles in the newspaper in the Tampa Bay Times. I've done a couple of I had done a couple of performances for, I don't know, I guess paid performances, if you will, in the community through the articles, through the exposure, through the lessons. And they invited me to go to strings camps. People wanted to sponsor me to go to the FSU string camp. You know, that's been going on for over 100 years. I was even flown out to Milwaukee at one point, my senior year, for a strings program. So my networking, my busking, my all the hard work that I had put in with Arts Conservatory for Teens, all of the friends I had made, that all led up to me receiving awards from the Ray Stadium, from the, Mayor's Youth Showcase, to even playing in a show like the Mayor's Youth Showcase. I mean, that was such an honor to open up, and then a couple speakers later have John Legend just come out and do his thing, you know. I'd like to say that I'm somebody that definitely tries to make their own luck. So, it's kind of I try to cover everything I can, but most importantly, none of this would have been possible without me doing my own research, working as hard as I can, wanting it, making sure to network with the right people, letting people know that I had a dream to be the best viola player that I could, to shoot for the stars, something like that. So I think schools need to continue having arts programs. They have an obligation to give those kids the creative space and opportunities, just as much as they would a PE class. You know, it's important. It's integral there.
So what do you say that, I mean, has music maybe changed the way you see the world, or has the world changed the way you see music? Or
I honestly, you know, I'll be honest, when I was 15 and I was a sophomore in high school, I enjoyed viola. This is all before I had started busking and being creative, but you know, I had a lot of depression in high school. I definitely have had a lot of high anxiety, still do to this day, but you know, I definitely was using music as a way to cope with a lot of you know, bullying or traumatic events that I had been through in my life. I used it as an escape, whether that was hip hop music or whether that was indie music, whether that was rock. I enjoyed musics of all genre. And for a lot of people to say that classical music is not, you know, a part of that, or that it's boring or whatever, you know, it just shows their ignorance. Because when I started really taking a serious interest in music in high school, I definitely saw a change in my mood. I saw a change in my demeanor. It made me happy. I liked spreading music with other people because, you know, maybe they were going through something themselves. And this was just a random kid. They call me the violin kid, even though I played viola. You know, that random kid with curly hairs playing violin, and I really like that classical music. Wow, I've never thought about music that way. I'm going to go listen to classic FM now. Now I'm going to go on YouTube and look up all the Bach I can. You know, I really liked inspiring people that way, and I feel like music is a universal language to reach people of all kinds. So in many aspects, I look positively upon music. So
I mean, what would you say are the greatest sources of inspiration? I mean, when you learn and play classical music?
I really take to polyphonic music such as Bach. Hearing like all those different voice ranges in a Bach cello suite piece, it's just like candy for my brain. I like hearing the resolution, like the call and the response within the music. It just, I like the technicality of it. I like hearing the little embellishments. It's just like how chefs will develop a palate to experience all the many different flavors and food and seasonings and things like that. That's what music is like for me. But particularly Bach cello suite music, you know, it just definitely, it's a lot to unpack. And, you know, there's things that you, when you're playing it or when you're listening to many different artists like Yo-Yo Ma or Piatigorsky play it on their cellos, you really hear the different interpretations and the different takes on it. And it's, I think that's what really makes it enjoyable for me, because it gives me new aspects on a long derivative piece.
I was wondering what lessons, what main takeaways do you have from your experience busking every week?
I was trying to meet, you know, my monthly payments. I would earn anywhere between $60 to $100 in a night, which is not bad. That was really my first job, you know, where I was actually like earning money. You know, truly it started not to earn money. It started as me getting rid of stage fright. Whenever they would have student recitals at Gibbs High School, I would get on stage. It would feel very cold. Everybody would be staring at me, and my knees would start to wobble. And I knew that a lot of people in that crowd and that audience know if I'm going to be making a mistake. They know if this is wrong or this sounds just so bad. And, you know, I think a lot of us musicians know how things can be in high school or middle school, or mainly high school, or settings where all of our colleagues are kind of avidly watching, you know. So it kind of adds to the pressure, kind of maybe might not let us play our best if we're not prepared for stage fright. So I thought to myself, after like a couple of recitals that I had just bombed, I thought, I need to find a way to get rid of this. I need to find a way to play in front of an audience and not tense up, to have fun. And so I thought, what kind of captive audience could I have to listen to this that might not be so judgmental, or might not, they might be more appreciative or more encouraging. I took to playing on the street corner, you know, on Beach Drive in downtown St. Pete. I would just pick a corner. I'd start at about 7 or 8 p.m., play till about 10 or 11. You know, and I would have random solos like Bach pieces, or maybe I would play a little liquor here, or passage from I don't know, something in orchestra that I really enjoyed, or I would start improvising and just start playing whatever I saw in front of me, and just, you know, as corny as that might sound, you know, I would try and paint the scene. And if I thought everybody's having fun, everybody's having a positive experience, you know, walking down the street, hanging out with friends or family, let me add to that ambiance, you know, let me be part of the experience. I'm just there. And, you know, it's like you're not trying to impress anybody, you know, you're not trying to play that really difficult 30-second note passage where it's nothing but double stops and string crossings and stuff like that. You're trying your best to create a mood for that experience. So, you know, that was my initial response to it. And eventually, you know, I met retired musicians, I met other people, and, you know, pressure kind of got up a little bit for me and my anxiety. But eventually, I just said to myself, hey, just keep practicing, just keep, you know, working out all the kinks in your music, and just give people a really good quality of show. So that's what I did. You know, I would practice, you know, I just would practice from an hour and a half to 2 hours a day, 2 hours a day to 3 hours a day. It's not about how long you practice, it's about the quality of practicing. But, you know, I really would be grinding a lot whenever I was busking, and trying to really deliver a quality experience for people whenever they came to see me perform, or they saw me on the street corner. And then I started doing it to make the viola payments, you know, but, you know, as soon as I was my mindset had switched over to making viola payments, or making connections so that I could even get these private lessons, or make the payments. I wasn't scared anymore. I mean, I was playing in front of people, you know, in the hundreds. I was playing in front of people in the thousands, you know, peak thousands. I mean, like playing at the Black, Brown, and College Brown, and like the convention center and stuff like that. But my point is that when I had finally gotten to my senior recital, all that busking, all those performances, you could see a difference. I definitely improved. I felt much more relaxed. I felt at home. I just felt like, hey, don't focus on any negative naysayers. Just focus on the music itself. As, you know, corny or cliche as that sounds, I really tried to envelop myself in the music. And
so, I mean, in light of recent events and the tragedies that are befalling the nation and the world, one thing I would ask you is, what do you view the role of art as in, I mean, such difficult times as we're all living through right now? And I mean, and in that vein, like, how can artists use their craft for social justice? What's your view on that?
Well, I have been giving it a lot of thought. I at one point thought, hey, I'm going to go over to the St. Pete Police Department and try and play Ave Maria, for in front because of what they're doing to us.
That's
But
very
I don't want my viola smashed or any of my instruments smashed, so or tear gassed rather. So I mean, artists are artists. I think that there's many different ways that you can contribute your craft. One thing I'm going to do is see what pieces I can play that are part of these social justice movements, whether it's for Indigenous people, whether it's for the Black community, or really any community that's being that's going through it. I'm going to see how I can play some of their music that they play, like as a struggle, as I guess an overall piece for the movement. I can't really think of. I'll tell you what. I played in this theater production. It was called Sounds of the Civil Rights. I played in that 2-3 years. I think I played in it for 3 years. I auditioned with Bob Marley's Redemption Song. I don't know if either of you know that song, but Bob Marley's Redemption Song is it's basically talking about just peace, no war, no violence, just kind of going with it, this kind of experiencing these injustices, experiencing, I guess at the time when he made the song, there was a lot of like nuclear talk. There was a lot of, I guess, police brutality then, as there is now. And it's kind of like a peace offering of a song. So I played that. I played that when people came out on stage in hoodies with their hands up during the Trayvon Martin part of the set. And I feel like playing music that's part of each, I'm sure you can go on Spotify and you can look up Black Lives Matter and go through their playlist and just find a song that resonates with you, you enjoy the message, and just try and sound it out or find the sheet music. But really, most of these pieces are not very hard to learn and just play on your instrument. I think that's what people can do. They can put out YouTube recordings, or they can try and just play it in places where they don't think they're at risk. I think it shows solidarity. It's hard to be a musician with a wooden instrument, not a trumpet, and go to these rallies. Well, not rallies, sorry. To go to these protests and, actually play and stuff like that. I think what's most important is just to go over there and actually protest. I would just keep on continuing to have these programs like the Gathering of Women, or whatever you want to call it. Just have a program where you can include inner city kids that would not have all these opportunities, because even if there are some inner city kids still getting to join these programs, not all of them are going to get that experience. Not all of them can afford to go across the way, all the way up from Southside St. Petersburg all the way to Palm Harbor or what have you, just to do these contests. I would try and provide and donate inexpensive instruments just to get them started, books, literature, but really reach out to these kids, in areas where a lot of classical music is not really spoken of. It's almost as if it belongs to the North Side or something like that. I just, I really do applaud a lot of the recent years where people are trying to bring more and more and more of the arts to areas like Southside St. Pete, or just St. Pete in general, where you can make it more accessible for people that would not have these opportunities. Like, I really think that's how established musicians can contribute. I think that's how anybody can contribute, because the arts really do universally, whether you speak English or you speak Spanish or whether you speak German, whatever, people understand music, and it brings people together for sure.
I mean, I personally, I mean, I find your life story, I mean, what you've done is just to be incredibly inspiring. And one thing I might ask you is, I mean, to some of our listeners who might be in similar situations, have a true passion for music, but maybe not have all the resources or opportunities that they might want, what advice might you give them?
I definitely would advise people to network. Networking always does help. Try and meet as many musicians as you can in your craft. Don't always think that you have to be a part of a specific program to be a part of music or to be a part of the arts. I tried, when I was at PCCA, I definitely tried to be a part of the atmosphere. I tried to blend in, but I kind of realized that, like, I beat to the own beat of my drum. I march to the own beat of my drum. And I would advise people to just start busking, to try and get rid of stage fright, to try and earn money, to try and get people to say, hey, you play really nice, I want to hire you for my wedding. And you could be playing the most simplistic thing. It could be little elementary school kids playing the most simplistic thing. It doesn't matter. I mean, you don't have to be a part of these groups to be valid. I don't think you have to meet a certain quota to be valid. Music is music, and a lot of people should just try and have fun with it. It's just hard to get started sometimes, if you don't have the instrument, if you don't have the means to get to these places, it can be very challenging. And that's what I feel like I can't exactly give a straight answer for now. But once you do get those instruments, networking is key. I'd say just try and get as much exposure as you can. There's no such thing as the wrong type of exposure for playing for a crowd. I've played classical music at cookout barbecue events, or I've played literally pick up the pieces like da 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 da. I've literally played that on the viola, just.
I mean, I personally just find the way that you think about music, and it's I mean, not a role, but just the way it affects others. I think it's very moving. I mean, the idea of it being this universal language that can communicate with everyone. I just think that's really beautiful. And one thing I might ask you is, how do you think that music and musicians can change society, if at all, if you think that is a possible thing?
I think, well, I want to answer for sure that it is possible. I think when people think about how they can contribute to a movement or how they can join activism or change the world and try and unite people, there is no one thing that you can do. I'd say that music is one of the many tools that you can use to help with that. Sorry, my cat is playing with something in the corner. No, like I said, find music that kind of voices the movement. Like if you're a pianist, maybe find I don't know, a Bob Marley song, maybe like a classic African spiritual song or something like that. Play things out of your genre and expose people and other niche groups that would never hear that sort of stuff, like just go ahead and play that. Like I've been to concerts before at churches where they play nothing but classical music, and it's beautiful. It is beautiful. It is melodic, but sometimes, and I have seen artists do this before. Why not expose them to music that they would never hear before? They'd be like, "Oh, that was really interesting. What is that piece? Oh, well, that was such and such piece, and that was derived from, police brutality. This is the song that they would play whenever they demanded justice, or this was, make pieces that are like a conversation starter for that sort of topic. The people that are not involved in politics or don't want to get political, which, by the way, Black Lives Matter is not a political view. That's just I think people can use music to build bridges and meet people that maybe are on the opposing side, politically or worldview. Like, I know that, let me see. I know that a lot of people that might play in rock bands or something like that, or indie bands or what have you, they don't like to talk all the time about these sort of issues, or they don't like to, again, play music that is related to these issues or has some sort of background to the struggle of like indigenous people, or that has the that relates to police brutality, or trying to get equality in whatever aspect. I think that's a much more complex way that music can help. But if you're trying to just unite people, make friends and stuff like that, I think any sort of genre of music can honestly do that. You just need to find pieces that are your favorite. You need to research them and just try and expose people to those genres that might not listen to it otherwise, So.
Yeah, I think that a big part in being an artist and a musician is creating those shared experiences with audience members and having the music speak to them at a personal level. And I mean, you've done so much for your community. You've volunteered at teaching new kids how to play instruments. I mean, what you just said, by acknowledging the groups that helped you along your way. Like behind every musician or artist's career is thousands of people that have supported them along the journey. And I think it's really important as individuals and as people trying to make careers that we acknowledge the people who helped us get to where we are. And I think that's also a big thing that artists and musicians can do is raise awareness and support the groups that have helped them get to where they are. And I think that's a great thing.
Most definitely. I try not to forget where I've come from. I try not to forget about all those people, because it really does take a village. It really does, for every artist, for every great artist, whether they've had the resources or not, it's taken a village, and they can acknowledge all the people in their lives that brought them to where they are. And to actually circle back to that earlier question about like, how can you get involved in this if you don't have those opportunities? It might not be a musical organization that you reach out to and tell them, hey, I don't know, I'm 12 years old, I want to learn how to play the cello. I'm 15 and I really want to learn trumpet. I really want to learn saxophone, oboe. I was in a program called Men in the Making, which was a mentorship program for young Black and brown boys, inner city boys that, might not have a lot of opportunities or might not have a lot of experience dealing with the police. I think the group was really born out of watching a lot of these 2013, 2012 killings of unarmed Black teenagers like Trayvon Martin and stuff like that. And I even was a mentor in that for a little bit. And the leader, well, one of the leaders of it, Kenny Irby, I told him my dreams for trying to go to Juilliard and trying to become a great viola player. And he supported it by putting me in touch with some of these, any people that he knows, so he helped me network. He paid for some of the supplies that I had. Sometimes, I tell people, just find people in your community that are looking to support the youth, that are looking to support people. They don't have to be musicians themselves. They can just either have a platform themselves, or they might have the monetary means to help. Just explain your enthusiasm for whatever art form it is, and just see who might be willing to help make that possible. I think that is kind of broad, but take with that what you will, whoever's. I think it's great that a lot of young people, I see a lot of young people trying to use platforms like TikTok and things like that to bring awareness in their platforms to a lot of these social issues. And if you're a famous musician, or you're a young and rising band or group, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to get into who to vote for. Just make sure that you bring awareness that voting is important, that protesting is important about what's going on in your local city and division. Talk about the inequalities, talk about what you see on a personal level that you might feel uncomfortable about. Because I do think that, not speaking out about all this stuff, not speaking about the kids that don't get to have exposure to music or the arts because they might be deemed as too ghetto or to whatever. I think that I don't think that we should be using those terms of bias. I mean, they're just kids at the end of the day. You don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what their situations are. And sometimes, the fine arts can really help them to find a pathway to success. Maybe they don't want to continue trumpet when they get to be in high school or college, and maybe they go on to become an accountant, a lawyer, or an entrepreneur. But at the very least, you're helping them to realize themselves for success, and or at least giving them inspiration. If they don't choose to go to college, they can still be successful.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I might say is that I feel like one thing that music might be great at is just, combating ignorance. I mean, like you said, about actually representing a lot of these sort of the music of many indigenous communities, even around the world, and all of these, groups that just are not represented. I mean, do you think that music has the, healing power or some sort of capacity to make people who might have certain views born out of ignorance actually change their mind?
Yes, I do. I just think right now, there's a lot of people saying we just need to come together, we just need to vote, we just need to be peaceful. A lot of these officers who are committing these atrocities against unarmed people, or are not getting, like Breonna Taylor's killers, or George Floyd's killers, they were not going to be held accountable unless people were out in the streets bringing awareness to it, having civil unrest. I think music can be used to aid that, and now is not so much a time of just healing, but trying to actually just rebuild our structure and stuff like that. And so I think music can be used for healing, for sure, to bring people together and bring awareness and just change people's views, maybe to be less selfish, or less, oh, that's not my problem, I don't care, that doesn't affect me. Or keep it, one thing that really irritates me is when people say, oh, I thought you were a great string player. Just keep it about the music. Just keep it, stop, shut up. I want to hear just the music. You know, I don't care about all this other stuff. Um, you know, honestly, that stuff is so relevant to how I even became a musician or how I even became my way, because I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was privileged enough to not be homeless or not to um, always be looking for a meal. But at the same time, I didn't have any musicians in my family. Like, um, I didn't come from wealth. I didn't come from any of that sort of stuff. So when people just say, shut up, um, I think now it's just the time of just bringing awareness to this sort of stuff and trying to make amends for a lot of just systematic racism, a lot of systematic oppression, a lot of systematic just crap. So I think music can be used as a voice to bring awareness to that stuff, but I think it also can be used as a tool to meet other people with your similar viewpoints. Maybe you grow up in a rural area where everybody has very opposing viewpoints, and you feel like, oh my gosh, you know, everybody around me believes that I don't know, Black Lives Matter is a racist group, and I'm a Confederate flag person or something like that, but I don't believe in this, and you know, whatever. Sometimes making music that can kind of be relatable helps people in those sort of situations, I guess. I don't really, I just say make positive music that not only uplifts those movements, but is trying to be inclusive, you know, for everyone. I hate to say that, oh, there's so much division. I don't like conflict, because that's the problem. There's too many people saying they don't like conflict, but there's so much conflict going on as a result of that. So, you know, do you personally, what about you? What's your opinion about music healing and mending a lot of these community ties and civil unrest?
I would say that, I mean, I agree with every single point you made fully. I think you expressed it just wonderfully. I don't have much to add, because I mean, I love what you said. I definitely think that it's incredibly important to have more awareness of the music of many indigenous and oppressed communities, just to bring awareness to what's going on. But at the same time, like you said, music can be used to bring people together, but also for actual change, because like you said, I mean, healing is nice and all, but there has to be change that happens, or else these problems will just get swept under the rug for another 50 years. So
Yeah, exactly.
I want to respond to the point you made about sometimes people try to separate the art from where the art is coming from, or the music from the musician making the music. And that's kind of a fallacy. I mean, if you think about, for example, Chopin, he was a political refugee, and a lot of his music is very Polish and harkening back to those childhood songs and different Polish melodies that he grew up with, even though he was an expatriate living in Paris, precisely because of the political situation that forced him to move. He was unable to return to Poland. He had to leave when he was like 18. So, and from that, there's incredible emotion, incredible music that comes out of that situation. But, you know, we have to remember that music and art is a reflection of the society that's situated in, and that the fact that you can't really separate the origin of the music or how it's inspiring the musician from, I mean, just what the audience is hearing, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah.
I think this is a great note to end on.
Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having me on today. You know, whatever platform I do have, I want to use it to help further these movements and make my voice heard. So I encourage everybody listening to do the same.
Adán, thank you so much for your time. And it's been a real pleasure to have you here with us. I'm sure that your stories really inspire listeners to examine how they can use their platforms and use kind of their privilege to do good and further do good for their communities.
Yeah, I thank you so much. It's been an honor.
And signing off, this is Full Cadence. You can follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and feel free to contact us via fullcadencepodcast@gmail.com.